Hi, I've never done a video on music in light of physics, but there's actually quite a bit there. Um, New physics tells us that there are no collisions, okay? No kinetic interactions, none. Everything's what we call elastic communication. Today in physics they call it entanglement, but in this new physics, emerging theories, and there's just a whole clan of theories, it's robust entanglement. Anyway, what it teaches us is that things happen instantly and they happen across the margins or the very edges of things, okay? Um, So for music, okay, what is music? And I think to answer that, you have to ask, what is life? And thankfully, this new physics kind of speaks to that. When two things line up, they create a field between them. And if the field is robust enough, then another field is created. And if that field that's created, it's moving like this, is robust enough, a field's created inside of it, and it's moving very fast. Anyway, so when this second and third field, this one and this one communicate, you get a shifting or kinetic effect field. All right, that's why we have two eyes, two ears, two everything. It's really fascinating. Inside the brain, we have four ventricles. All right, and that's because of this elastic shifting that's occurring. That and through evolution, nothing could exist in these spaces because there was always something that was shifting within that space. And there's one front to back and one side to side. It's fascinating. We don't have any current theories right now that explain why we have ventricles in our brain. Anyway, so life then is this animated dance of this fourth kinetic effect field. So then music, one might say, is the realization or the physical manifestation of this dance. So something is pleasing to our ears if it contains this dance in it, all right? This lively kinetic effect presence. So when we practice, all right, and we want to practice, one, because we're connecting neurons, and neurons adapt within 4 hours, all right? In other words, they grow new connections. If this is a neuron and this is our interneuronal connection, to build a new connection so that it looks like this, axon to dendrite, axon to dendrite, new connections. So we might have connections here or here, accessory connections that are built when you meditate and you think slowly, you hold still, okay? All right, so we practice to build better neural connections so that we can get a better sound, okay? A more pure single tone using single actions, single motions, okay? We can play more quickly. In piano and in drums, then when you practice, you sit very still, noticeably still, I call it, and so that we can train very specific neurons in very specific neural pathways. If we're just moving about, we're not focusing our nervous systems. So we sit very still and we become aware of our margins, our presence. All right, now what that does, when we become aware of our presence, two things it does. One, it makes it so that the fine structures that are being created in our bodies, in our brain, are happening without muscular interference to muddy up the fine structure productions. All right, but the other thing it does is it allows us to not focus on muscles that are tense in our bodies, so that we get the most agility, the most speed, the most clear in time, in metronome time, presence, okay? so that we have a better communicated sound. And then we can stimulate fine structure productions, because the physics tells us that anytime anything happens or moves, it's communicating with things. So the act of playing an instrument, we're creating fine structures in space. And so, but then to do it in a way that has perfect intervals, okay, and in very focused, accentuated, clear, or with clarity strokes, with precise precision, then we may be able to evoke this fourth kinetic effect fine structure field in space, and then people will feel better in hearing this, because to probably through our senses experience this kinetic shifting, then may be very pleasing, to us. The other thing is that it may help to heal us, and that's kind of has to do with sin and floral presences, but which we talk about in other videos, and we don't have to talk about here. But anyway, so practicing, you want to hold noticeably still, and you want to, in your mind, count using a dead man walking voice, all right? Now, why would we do that? A dead man walking voice, like the Tibetan monks when they go, oh, the very low, monotone voice, okay? You play any instrument, piano, violin, the way you count, okay? Your body expresses itself in a very approximate expression of how you express yourself in your mind through your tongue and through your auditory, your temporal region in your brain. The temporal region of your brain contains three hard structures that are hard structures that allow for the most elastic communications to occur consistently, all right? Neurons, like I said, are plastic, and they build new connections, and so at any given time, today or tomorrow, your neurons are going to change somewhat, and they're not going to produce the same fine structures in the same exact spot. But these three hard structures in your inner ear, which then express themselves in neurons in your temporal region here, are going to be more consistent over time, and so that's why we think in threes, and why Freud thought we had an id, an ego, and a superego, and baseball has three strikes, and everything we do has threes, from writing paragraphs in college and high school. When you write your introductory paragraph, you always at least have 3 points and things like that. But anyway, so in the music, you hold noticeably still, and you count with a dead man walking voice, a low monotone voice. And let's see, what else? That's probably all that I have right now. Let's see. I do what they call a shadow stroke, okay? Which means that I train my muscles, all right? In the drums, it would look like this, where you count 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a halt. 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a halt. And on piano, you do that shadow stroking by doing your scales very slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then lift. 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, so that you feel the push, and you play to the bottom of the key, imagining that it hits the floor, okay? And then you have an ascent. For every note, whether it's violin, piano, drums, or anything, you have an upstroke, and you concentrate as much on the upstroke as you do the downstroke, okay? Anyway.